Greetings and salutations, travelers of the internet. Welcome to the Lit Round Table. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Anna, and we'll be your wise or not so wise mentors for today's audio adventure into all things storytelling. Today, special episode for you. We're talking about the first 4 episodes of Season 2 of The Rings of Power.
So,
before we get into it, I have a couple of little housekeeping things.
Okay.
I didn't want you to just dive. I could see the wheels turning in your brain. I was like, oh, he's going to jump right in.
I was going to ask, do you know how many episodes long the season's going to be?
Oh, I think it's 8, because the last season was 8.
Halfway mark, if that holds true.
If that holds true. I don't know. But, okay, little housekeeping things.
Yes.
If there's a weird cut in the episode, it's because I'm on call this week. And I have to keep my phone off of Do Not Disturb. So
yes, you must answer.
I have to be available. So if we get interrupted and there's a funny cut and we don't come back quite where we were, that's what happened. My apologies. Hopefully it won't happen.
You must forgive us.
Other thing, you guys should subscribe to our Patreon. And, liking and the things to the things is helpful, even though it's silly. So, like the video, like the pod, do the things. I feel weird. Joseph's laughing at me because I look weird.
Am. She's making arm gestures while she does this. It's very amusing.
Anyway, it really does help. So, for visibility. And we like what we're doing, so...
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah,
Indeed.
Rings of Power.
So first 4 episodes, halfway done. Man, the first 2 episodes were maybe my 2 favorite episodes in the entire show so far, including season 1.
Interesting. Okay. I think that's fair. I was not expecting them to drop 3 episodes right out the gate, so that was a happy little surprise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have technically watched episode 3, I think, 3 times, because Blake and I kept falling asleep. It was not the episode's fault. It was that we were trying to powerhouse through all of the episodes in one sitting while we were already... very tired, and it was already quite late. So, yeah. But it's not a reflection on the episode.
Right.
But I believe subconsciously my brain has seen that one the most times.
Fair. I think, so far, I am enjoying this season more than the first season.
Yes.
I like that there's no longer any mystery as to who Sauron is. And there's...
Oh. I thought you said Saruman, and I was like...
Oh, no. And there's not even really that much of a mystery as to who the stranger is. Okay,
but I have seen a lot of discourse about that online recently.
Okay, we can talk about it.
Okay.
But first, I want to... So, do you have any of, the biggest moments in this first clump of episodes that really stood out to you? Because I have my own few that are yes.
Well, I don't know if I didn't know or just didn't remember that Círdan was going to be in this. So the minute they showed the boats, I was like, oh my gosh, of course we're going to have Círdan, because we're getting the 3 elven rings. So obviously the shipwright is going to be here. I just was not thinking that, I guess. I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about Elrond that I'm hoping you will help me unpack.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how we want to go through this, but I have just an overwhelming amount of thoughts about him right now.
Let's just go by story line.
Okay.
So let's start with
Should we start with the elves?
Yeah, we can start with Elrond, Galadriel, because they're kind of in Círdan. They're kind of all clumped together right now.
Are we keeping Celebrimbor separate because he's kind of on his own little journey right now?
I think Celebrimbor and Anatar get their own thing.
Okay, cool. I agree.
We can do that next. because I'm excited about that. Anyway.
Yeah. So the opening scene of Elrond and Galadriel, like, racing their horses. At first, like, the way it was shot, I was like, oh, they're, like... It didn't occur to me that they would be in competition immediately.
Right.
Like, I expected maybe more empathy from Elrond. But also Galadriel was being super cagey at the end of season 1. So, like, kind of fair for him. The jump off the cliff for Elrond to keep Galadriel and Gil-galad from getting the rings, wild choice.
So extra.
So extra. Very Arendelle of him, if I do say so. But I am okay, so this is part of where I'm struggling. If we're thinking about the elves' hierarchy, Gil-galad is the High King. So Elrond is acting in direct defiance to Gil-galad. Which should be more of a problem than it apparently is. Because then they let him come, like, they find him and then they let him come back without seemingly any consequences.
My interpretation is that, like, yes, he went rogue there. He went to Círdan, who was, like, the oldest and wisest of them all, you know, because he's the oldest thing on 2 legs on the continent almost. Well, elf anyway. But I think, like, maybe they cut him some slack because they know that Sauron was involved with, like, the conception of the rings. So maybe they're like, okay, you have, like, a good reason to be wigged out a little bit. And maybe he gets some nepotism points because of who his dad is. Or who his dad, maybe. Like, you know, Arendelle. You know.
Yeah. But it did strike me as odd. And then, so he gives the rings to Círdan. Círdan takes them out and is going to drop them into the ocean. Interesting conceptually, except that the elves talk about the deep places of the world all the time. And so it's like, how do we know the rings will be safe?
Yeah.
In the bottom of this ocean. But and then Círdan comes back with the rings, and they end up all wearing them, right?
Yeah.
And then Elrond seems very
put out.
Well, he's very put out, yes. But then, like, the order in which he forgives them, like Círdan, he seems to be like, okay, whatever. Círdan can do whatever he wants. I'm not going to harbor ill will. I'm still going to go to him for advice and counsel. And Círdan seems to be the only one that's not being weird about the power of the rings. Like, he's not, at least for us, we're not seeing him have any weird visions or anything like that. Galadriel and Gil-galad have both confided to one another and not been particularly secretive about these, like, visions that they're having. Elrond seems pretty okay with being buddy-buddy with Gil-galad. Or at least doing what he says now.
Yeah.
But Galadriel, he's just being a straight-up meaniehead to. Which I know is a very trivial way of saying that he's really in his feelings about feeling betrayal from her.
I think, because Halbrand being Sauron... Because, at first, there was a moment where he was like, how could you? Because he doesn't realize, like, the depth of the deception, that took place. Like, he didn't know how long she had known or, like, all this stuff. Like, for all he knew, she was in league with him.
Right.
He was like, you of all people, how could you? And she's like, I didn't know it was Sauron until, like, 5 hours ago. You know?
Right.
But it's just this whole thing just made me laugh because it's like, man, Elrond is really going to spend the next however many 100 years just really trying to convince people to destroy jewelry.
Yeah.
And
that was also very amusing to me.
And like nobody's going to do it because how many times has he said the rings must be destroyed in like the same exact cadence that he says it in the Fellowship of the Ring?
Yeah, which I think is maybe a little heavy-handed in some ways.
Yeah.
Honestly. Blake made a good point. He was like, man, you'd think after going through all of this, he'd be out in Mount Doom with a Isildur and just be like, I am not dealing with this again, and just push him in.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Why is this, like, this is just setting Elrond up to, like, I don't know, be strangely empathetic towards Isildur, but not have any empathy towards Galadriel. You know what I mean?
I think, well, he has to turn around eventually on the rings because he ends up being one of the ring bearers.
Well, that's the other thing. I'm like, the irony is that he will end up wearing Gil-galad's ring.
Yeah.
Which is incredibly ironic. And at this point, like, I understand that they're trying to set up a character arc, but it just feels like, how are they possibly going to make this compelling?
Yeah.
At this point.
I think we'll just have to see where that goes. But he is being pretty antagonistic to Galadriel, and even in this last episode, where now he like has command of this group, and
like he went from being a herald, to being
herald.
A commander. Like that's strange to me.
I mean, I think that people are just really wigged out by Galadriel and like how Sauron deceived her, and they even said that like once he's deceived you, he has a way of like changing your reality, and like all of this stuff. Like once you let him in, like he can pretty much tell you whatever he wants, and you'll believe it. So I think they're just really afraid that she'll get duped again, which makes sense. But Elrond in particular, though, is being really angsty. You know, I don't know.
Yes. Well, and so then part of me is like, it almost feels like it almost feels like, sorry, I'm not articulating this particularly well because it's rattling around in my brain, that he is also very disturbed by the fact that she had some kind of emotional connection with Sauron beyond the fact of like being deceived by him. Like he also seems particularly disturbed that she would have any kind of emotional feelings
like
towards
they
the
were
Dark Lord.
Yeah, like he was a friend. Like she considered him a friend.
Right. And maybe more than a friend. Like that is not explicitly stated, but it is being heavily implied. There were some romantic feelings there, which I feel kind of weird about.
I also feel weird about it, and I don't want to as I'm watching, even if I see things that are like even kind of hinting it, I just kind of dismiss them because I'm just like, no, that's not
right. Like it's wildly implausible.
Yeah, even if she felt that way, no way did Sauron feel that way. It's all a manipulation. It's all a deception. Like, no, it's not real. But I think that we'll see some good character development from Elrond and Galadriel in this season, especially with like the ending of. So I mean, with where things left off with Adar, you know,
we'll get there.
Capturing her.
Okay. I'm very confused about some timeline things too.
Mm-hmm.
So, at this point, is Galadriel already a mother?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I am also inclined to not think so, but I've been seeing a lot of rhetoric online about how she has to be if they don't bring Celeborn back. Like, if he just ends up being lost for some unknown reason forever. Which I think is unlikely. I'm sure that they will bring him in. But, and also, it's going to be really weird if she hasn't had Celebrian yet, and then she ends up pregnant, like, in the show, and having her daughter, and, like, Elrond knows her daughter as an infant. Like, that's weird.
I have no idea what the timeline of Elrond meeting her is.
Right.
Or, like, who was born first, even. I'm sure Elrond was.
I don't know. I would assume so, but I don't know.
Because he was around in the First Age, like, at the end of the First Age, so I feel like...
Yeah. Well, but then if her daughter is already around, that makes her, like, some weird absentee mother, which also doesn't feel very accurate.
I feel like she's not yet, honestly. In the show, I feel like she has not had her daughter yet.
She's not... It would be very strange of her to have not ever mentioned her at this point.
Yeah. I don't think...
I know she barely mentioned her husband who's disappeared, but you'd really think that when that came up, she would have also mentioned, and my daughter I've got stowed away somewhere to keep her safe. But she didn't.
I kind of doubt that the show will even show her, honestly. I feel like...
Yeah. Which that's fair.
I don't think you can... Unless they try to make that the reason why Galadriel wasn't at, like, the Battle of the Last Alliance. She's, like, pregnant.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? She'd be so
dumb.
mad. This version of Galadriel would be so mad.
Yeah. Yeah.
If she wasn't there at the Battle of the Last Alliance because she was pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah, so the whole... Yeah, the Gandalf, Galadriel and Elrond thing is interesting. We'll see where it goes. For sure.
We gotta talk about the Barrow Wights, though.
Yeah.
Because, man, this 4th episode, I was so excited the whole episode because we kept hitting things that I missed in the Lord of the Rings movies. For different reasons. The Barrow Wights in the show were not at all what I had envisioned them to be like.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they were... Yeah.
Creepy.
I feel like in the books, they were more... You didn't really get a good glimpse of them. You heard them. You saw the creepy hand. You never really got a good look at them. But in this one, it was very, like, in your face. Man, they said the creepy... Okay, they gave the lines to Gollum in the Two Towers movie. That like, cold be heart and hand and bone and...
Yes.
All that stuff. That's Barrow Wight stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they say. And they actually had that in... Oh, I got nerd chills when the Barrow Wights were saying the creepy Barrow Wight poem thing.
Well, the minute, like, ghosty things started happening, I was like, oh my gosh, it's the Barrow Wights.
And
I got very excited.
There is some discourse about the Barrow Wights because a lot of people are like, those aren't supposed to be there yet. Because they're supposed to be the, like, buried Dunedain people and kings, because the barrow blades that they take out were Dunedain blades, and that's why when Merry stabs the Witch King with it, because they were at war with the Witch King, it's a whole thing. So they're like, the Barrow Wight shouldn't even be there. That was, like, the Witch King that made those, and, like, all this stuff. But I've seen people saying, like, yeah, but who taught the Witch King how to do that?
True.
And who's to say that the Northern Kingdom of Arnor didn't just kind of appropriate this burial location for, like, kings of men and, like, also bury their kings and, like, important people there too. So I didn't have, like, a huge problem with it, but there were some people that were annoyed at the timeline.
I did have a moment of being like, would they have been there already? But then I quickly dismissed that because I generally assume that I do not know the timeline.
You know, sometimes you just got to go with the rule of cool.
Yes.
It was cool, so it's okay.
I also had some difficulty with spatial issues And I continue to have issues with that, which this is a known thing if you've been listening to the pod for any amount of time or any of our read-alongs, is that I struggle with spatial stuff in stories. But it seemed to me, and continues to seem to me, like Eregion is acting like it's much closer to Mordor than it actually is.
Oh, dude.
Am I wrong? Are they actually near each other?
No, not even a little bit.
Okay, so that's weird. It's weird then that Sauron left Eregion, went to Mordor, was imprisoned, left Mordor, went back to Eregion. That was weird, right?
Yeah, I mean, what Sauron does, I just kind of write off as like crazy Sauron things. Like
But he still seemingly has to travel.
Well, I mean, that's the way he makes it seem, right? In my mind, I feel like maybe he can do some crazy stuff where like he can travel a little faster than a normal person. Like maybe he doesn't have to sleep, right?
Sure. But now also suddenly the orcs and Adar are in Eregion. And nobody noticed them.
That does throw me.
Okay, because I was like, I don't think those things are close to each other, but maybe I'm just more map dyslexic than I actually realized. And I am very aware that I am. So,
because Mordor to Eregion is basically Mordor to Rivendell.
Right.
And we saw how long that took. The Fellowship.
Right.
A whole trilogy of movies.
So it is bonkers that happened all of a sudden.
That is a little crazy, yes.
Okay.
And you would think, I don't know. Some of those things...
somebody would have noticed.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of those things, I just have to kind of... suspension of disbelief. Okay. But that is something that this show is bad at, and that I do have a critique of, is just like... it takes no time for these people to get anywhere, ever.
Right.
They are just where they need to be whenever they need to be there.
Yeah.
Because going from Mordor to Eregion takes a long time.
Right.
And I mean, yes, orcs do attack Eregion and like sack it, but I always got the impression that he probably didn't march orcs all the way from Mordor to do it. I figured he probably enlisted the help of like orcs that are in the Misty Mountains or something, like
right, that would make more sense.
It's like, they're marching from Mordor? Holy cow, man. That's crazy.
It is a long way. Especially because they're orcs.
And they can't march in the day.
They can't march in the day.
They've only got like 8 hours. No, more like 12 hours.
And then they have to hide a legion somewhere during the daytime?
Well, I don't know.
And they're apparently not tunneling.
That would have taken even longer.
Anymore. That would have taken longer. But that's what they were doing in the first season, is they were tunneling everywhere.
Well, I think the tunnels were to make the flood happen. That wasn't just to travel. That was just to get the water to hit Mount Doom and cause an eruption.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, probably.
Anyway, I think that, not to get too lost in the weeds on just like logistics, but no, that is a problem for sure.
Okay.
I want to talk about Anatar.
Well, the whole Sauron timeline this season has been impressive.
So we get to see pre-Halbrand Sauron.
Right.
Right out of the gate, flashback, we see Adar trying to kill Sauron to save the orcs from being thrown into the meat grinder. Makes sense.
Does it? Maybe it does. Is there a figure that does that to Sauron? It seemed like Sauron was pretty easy to take out in that first little scene.
I mean, his physical form can be hurt. He gets basically taken out by a dog in the Silmarillion.
That's true. You're right.
Huon messes him up. So like he can be physically damaged, but he can't really be killed by any conventional. Like, stabbing him will not kill him. It doesn't matter, like, how many times you do it.
Yeah.
At least in this, like, form. So his physical form gets destroyed, and then he has to, like, regain power. I think that being a weird blob was an interesting choice that I may not have made, but it was still interesting.
Our live texts to each other during that part were kind of fun. Because I was like, it's like the slime from Fern Gully. And you said it was like...
The creature from the Black Lagoon or something.
From the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But eventually eats enough random things to become Halbrand. So getting to see that whole sequence of, like, him being betrayed by Adar to him being on the raft in the middle of the ocean where Galadriel finds him, I was like, finally, we get some sort of explanation to how he ended up there with that Southlander King emblem. Like, I had been so confused about that. So I'm glad they explained that.
I appreciated that. I liked the old guy that was helping him out.
Yeah.
And I thought that that was such an interesting and clever way of showing the audience that, like, he really does not care about anybody else. Like, he may give airs that he does, but he does not.
I think that because in the lore, he does have a sort of repentant moment, but he ends up not, like, following through, you know? So maybe that was, like, the closest that we get, you know, where he's at his lowest. His master's gone, the orcs betray him, this random guy is, like, showing him kindness and trying to tell him you need to be, like, just choose good every day. Because he used to be a good person, you know?
Sure.
When he was Maren, the Fair, he was just a Maiar that studied under Aule. So he used to be good, but he was just corrupted by power and evil. But yeah, I think seeing him just so callously just, like, take the emblem and just leave the guy was just like, oh. So it's like that then.
Yeah. As much as they are, like, creating gray areas for certain characters, they are not leaving a lot of gray area when it comes to Sauron.
And he's so fun to watch. I could watch just, if the whole show was just him, I'd watch it. I'd watch the crap out of it.
Yeah.
He's so fun
the actor
to watch.
is doing a phenomenal job.
I loved seeing him turn away the sea creature, like the sea monster is, like, going towards him when he's in the water, and then the sea monster just, like, nope, and just, like, does a 90-degree turn away.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's right. That's right. You respect the Dark Lord. And with the wolf, like the warg in the orc camp, because Sauron used to be in charge of a place that was called, like, the Isle of Wolves, and he, like, had a bunch of werewolves that he was, like, the master of, and he turned into a wolf. And so it's, like, one of his forms that he took. And so seeing him just, like, be the dog whisperer in that one scene was also really cool.
Yeah. What about the transformation from Halbrand to Anatar?
It melted my brain, dude. It absolutely melted my brain.
Yeah.
Like, the music, the subtle just seduction, like, he caused that storm. He 100%. He looked up, his eyes got kind of dark and weird, and then it starts raining. And also, like, the lightning strike is what took out the bridge with Galadriel and Elrond, which made them detour to the Barrow-wights. Also, his magic is what causes the Barrow-wights to be a thing, and they're the ones that killed the scouts. That prevented the news from Gil-galad getting to Celebrimbor. So, like, he has, like, masterfully orchestrated all of this, and it's just so cool to finally see him flexing his muscles as, like, this master manipulator, you know? Like, he's like, you guys are just puppets on strings, like, you're marionettes right now, and he's just making you dance, and it's so entertaining to watch. But seeing him, especially with Celebrimbor, it's so heartbreaking, because Celebrimbor, like, genuinely is just this guy who's trying to fill the most impossible shoes to fill. He's like the last descendant of Feanor himself.
Yeah.
The creator of the Silmarils. And he's a craftsman. He wants to create things. He wants to help preserve the elves and their beauty, and then
he's
he just
dedicated his entire life to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Sauron comes in, and when he's like, "Oh, it's the oldest tale in the book," you make this thing, and then they take it and reap the benefit of it, and don't give you any recognition. With like how Gil-galad hadn't sent them any word about whether or not the rings worked, and so just the way he was able to worm in, and from standing in the stables being like rejected and like told to leave, to making it all the way up into the forge tower. And just like chilling and talking.
And also like the half truths, right? So the rings did work. Like, yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And I'm not Halbrand. I'm not actually a human. I'm not
even
king.
mortal. Yeah.
Right. Like, not untrue. Not a whole truth. It's just very evil.
And just
very
like
clever.
The whole "I am a messenger of the Valar. I am a bringer of gifts."
Not untrue.
Him being an actual emissary of the Valar in that moment is a lie, but he's not. He is an angelic spirit.
He is a Maya. Who are like messengers for the Valar. So
I'm just so glad that
a half truth.
I'm just so glad we got to see it, because I was so scared that they like weren't going to do any Anatar stuff, which is like the best part of the whole story.
Right.
For me, is seeing him like manipulate and scheme and get these rings made. And man, the moment when like it all goes dark and he vanishes and Celebrimbor doesn't know where he went and he just hears his voice. Like, people will know you as more than just a scion of Feanor. Feanor name drop.
Yeah.
Chills. And then
yeah.
And then we see him like come out of the forge, which is so symbolic of just like the Valar that he learned from was the like smith god who made the dwarves. And so just seeing him like come out of the fires of the forge and be this like magnificent angelic spirit, like literally a halo, basically.
Yeah.
Crazy. He looked like a Michelangelo painting,
Yeah.
And he says, "You will be known as the Lord of the Rings." And I'm just like, oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Nerd squeals, kicking my feet.
For sure. So you bring up an interesting point that I had not considered. So him having been originally under, I'm going to butcher this Valar's name.
Aule,
thank you. Is so interesting when you consider the little beef he had with Durin. Because Durin does not trust him. Durin is automatically very suspicious of him. And I just find that to be very fascinating when you consider the Aule connection.
Yeah. And I mean, Saruman did too. Saruman was also under Aule. He has kind of a bad track record.
I was going to say, I wonder how Aule's feeling about all that.
I know. Because he's not bad, and the dwarves aren't bad.
No. They are suspicious.
I think it has something to do with how he crafts things.
Yeah.
And how I think that because Melkor really wanted to create, but he couldn't. And Mehrunes, who would then become Sauron, was under Aule and like
could
would
create.
Yeah, so I wonder if there's something there. Or maybe that's kind of how he seduced Sauron into his service, was like, oh, you're creating things for him. You could be creating such better things over with me. Like, that kind of thing. But anyway, that whole sequence of him revealing himself as this angelic being, as Anatar, the bringer of gifts, was just so cool. So cool. Ugh. Yeah. It's my favorite part of the whole show so far.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Rent-free in my head.
Totally fair. Should we touch briefly on the dwarves? I don't know if there's a lot to say about them yet.
I mean, the mountain's busted.
Yeah.
And they need that ring. Durin and his dad, Papa Durin, are they're butting heads, but slowly coming to an understanding. The dwarf, the singing, like the resonant singing thing, it's so cool. I love that so much.
That was very cool to see. I like seeing more of Disa.
I love Disa. She's
amazing. What a good wife. Mm-hmm. And just stellar person. Mm-hmm. Like, she's compassionate, but she's also not letting Durin get away with any of his baloney. Yeah.
I'm going to say something maybe controversial. Sorry, it's not dwarf related.
Okay.
Maybe you'll disagree. I think so, because we're talking. Okay, so just like rapid firing, there's like the dwarves. That's pretty much what the dwarves are going on, right? Mm-hmm. There's the Numenorians.
The dwarves, but like cool. Celebrimbor made the Mithril script, and that was cool. Anyway, carry on.
Oh, that was really cool. Seeing that, yes, that also made me nerd out. There's Numenor. There's Arendir, right? And them in like the Southlands, and then there's the Stranger. So really quick, the Numenorians, I feel like are kind of a weaker plot line right now. I
agree.
Care much.
I don't either
about them right now.
I mean, I feel bad for the Queen, and I have big feelings for Elendil.
Yes,
but generally, otherwise, I think it's because I know that Numenor falls, and that they're not around. So I just am like, it's a sinking ship. Why am I invested in this right now?
Literally a sinking ship.
You know what I mean? Exactly. The only thing I really care about is Elendil getting out. And his daughter is whatever. I don't care. She's annoying me. She annoys me.
The eagle showing up and accidentally validating a coup was really funny to me. The eagle's look of confusion as everyone starts chanting Pharazôn.
He's like, that is not why I'm here. Bye.
It was so funny, dude. Man. Anyway, that's,
the eagles can speak canonically.
Yes, they haven't in.
So, why didn't it? But except that if the eagle can speak, then you're not going to have this accidental miscommunication that overthrows the reigning queen of Numenor.
The eagle's like, wait, guys.
Yeah, the eagle would make quick work of that nonsense and be like, absolutely not.
Of course, voiced by James Spader.
I hate it. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. It's cursed. That's really all that's going on with the Numenorians. I mean, Isildur is doing his thing in the Southlands with Arendir, and there were Ents.
That was weird cool. Things. The Ents were cool, but there's weird stuff going on with Isildur, and I just I don't know.
It's not as compelling for me. It was really, really cool seeing an Ent wife.
Yes, I loved that.
That's kind of the only redeeming part of that plot line for me. Theo is annoying.
Theo is very annoying. I kind of hope we're done with him now that Arondir is leaving.
I love Arondir as a character.
I do too. Theo drives me absolutely crazy. He's driven me crazy since the beginning. He's just an annoying teenager. I feel bad that his mom died. I liked her. But there are some things about that dynamic of like step parenthood that I can appreciate.
But they were never even officially together. It's like your mom's almost boyfriend.
Right.
Not even boyfriend, almost boyfriend.
Right.
It's bizarre. I don't know.
It's very strange. So like that's weird. The Isildur and the girl thing.
That's weird.
Is weird. I'm like, you barely know each other, and you've also known this whole time she was looking for her fiance, and so like, why are you trying to hit that, my dude? Like,
yeah, it's super weird.
It's very strange. Weird quicksand with a worm. There have been a few moments that I'm like, I feel like we're slightly tipping our toe into Star Wars. That was one of them.
I think that sequence could have been done without, for sure.
I think it could have just not existed.
Yeah. I think that... So I had a moment, though, where like she sticks the branch in the mud and she's like pulling them out and something starts to come out and I was just like, there's no way. There's no way they're going to actually have her pull them out of quicksand because there's no way she has the upper body strength for that.
Well, it's especially quicksand. When Arondir was not able to pull Isildur out himself. And Arondir is a million times stronger than she is.
Unless she's Wonder Woman, she's not doing it.
She's also handcuffed. Like, it was just
and absurd. Malnourished. And probably dehydrated. And, absurd. Like, there's no way. But then the giant worm comes out and I'm like, oh.
And then it explodes.
Oh. Well, they cut their way out.
Right, I know. But gross. I'm just saying, it was just... I don't know. It was a Star Wars moment in my head.
And then they ate it. It was very Star Wars coded. You're right.
Yeah. The other Star Wars coded thing will transition to our buddies over in Rune, unless you have more to say about the Southlands. I don't. Okay. Although the Treebeard, not Treebeard, but the Ent stuff was really cool, and I really did love that. But everything else leading up to that was whatever. The masked figures in Rune are also very Star Wars coded.
It's giving Tell That to Kanja Club from The Force Awakens. They look like space pirates or something.
Or like they could be Mandalorians for all I know.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Hope and I had the same exact conversation.
And like even the building structures, like the temple thing, I'm like, well, that could exist on any planet in Star Wars. Like that looks like it's on Tatooine or one of the other desert planets.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is like a weird critique, but I don't know. It's very off-putting for me.
So just kind of... So, like, okay, we're short on time, so we can't, like, spend a ton of time on the stranger, unfortunately. But I'm glad that Poppy and Nori are together again.
Right. I do think it's a little bogus that she found them. Because she said they hadn't gotten very far, but they're very clearly not that close to where they started from. Right?
Yeah. Well, they were kind of going in circles for a while, though, so maybe that gave her a chance to catch up.
And she was following her little song, which was great.
So the reason why I don't think there's much debate as to who the stranger is, I think it's 1,000,000% Gandalf.
Okay.
My logic is, in one of the episodes, Nori says he's trying to find a Gand.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So a wand or like a staff, but she calls it a Gand.
Right.
And he says that a name is like something that it's yours and you have to find it. And I'm like, what are you also trying to find? A Gand.
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. I agree.
And there was another point where someone is referring to him and they ask if he's a big grand elf. Grand elf. Oh. Gandalf. Like it just seems like a bunch of subtle, like they keep getting closer and closer to Gandalf.
That's fair. So the discourse I had seen was that these two wizards that we've met now, the Dark Wizard and the Stranger, are the Blue Wizards, which is why they don't have names yet, because the Blue Wizards aren't actually named in any of the Lord of the Rings. So they can't have names because their names don't exist in that text, which is where they're pulling from. But I really think that the Dark Wizard, this is a little bit of a beef that I have, is very Saruman coded. He has the long straight hair. He has the long beard. He's very menacing. And my issue with that is that Saruman is not evil until Gandalf goes to visit him and he reveals that he's no longer Saruman the White and he's Saruman the Colorful. And that's so like this, like setting him up to already be a villainous kind of wizard bothers me a little bit. If that is who that is. Maybe it's not him, but it's very Saruman coded.
He looks exactly like Saruman.
Yeah.
How is he not?
Right. With like, some dark hair instead of all white.
Yeah. It would be so bizarre to me if it wasn't. But also, if it is, it's just like, it's going to be weird no matter what now, because if it is Saruman, why is he evil right now? He should be a good guy. And if it's not Saruman, it's like, then why does he look exactly like him?
Right.
So I'm very curious to see what they do with that. I'm perplexed.
I am also perplexed. It's like, they've paid so much attention to some details. But if they make him Saruman, that is completely ignoring the fact that for however many years, hundreds, Gandalf has seen Saruman as an ally and someone to take counsel with. He has been a trusted ally.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Maybe he's one of the blue wizards that... I don't know. Or he's just
really love that either, though, because maybe he's nothing.
Some dude. Yeah.
I mean, they described him as an Astari. Tom Bombadil described him as one of the Astari. So I would assume that he's one of the 5 wizards.
Yeah, I don't know, man. He has a staff.
He does. But if he turns out to be Saruman, that is gonna, you know... I love the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And I love all of this content that it has generated recently. But I generally think that it's not healthy for fans to be like, well, that's not canon, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But I also think that we have to be allowed to be critical, and that will be something that I will be critical if this dark wizard ends up being Saruman. Because it just does not make sense.
Yeah, and it... Like, maybe there's a way for them to make it make sense, you know? Like what they did with, like, showing... Because I was confused on how Sauron ended up on that raft in the ocean and why he was there. They ended up making it make sense. Like, maybe...
That's such a small thing in comparison to suddenly Saruman being a villain to being a good guy again, just so that he can become, like, one of the big bads again. What I'm saying is if they tried to make it make sense, like maybe he's being manipulated somehow, like mentally. Maybe he has accidentally like touched a Palantir that's over there. Maybe. Well, that means he gets tricked by that twice, and that's pretty dumb.
That'd be pretty embarrassing, wouldn't it?
It would be.
So like.
But that's a good point. That could be.
Like maybe he's being manipulated by some nefarious force. Or maybe he's like, actually, in the context from my point of view, I'm the good guy here, and you guys are really annoying me right now. And it's actually like, I don't know. I can't think of an example.
Yeah.
But anyway, Tom Bombadil. We have to talk about Tom Bombadil.
We do. This is just going to be a longer episode, guys. I hope that's chill with you.
But, okay, so what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Tom Bombadil?
I love him. I think that they are doing a fantastic job portraying him as this kind of like, yeah, I'm here and I'm old, but also like I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
And I can't really be that bothered.
He is whimsy personified.
Yes.
Casting, A+ casting.
Absolutely. As much as I loved the allusion to Old Man Willow again, and I was like sitting on the edge of my seat like, oh my gosh, there's a nasty tree, it's also like, why is Tom Bombadil just attracting these nasty trees? You know what I mean?
It's Old Man Ironsides, not Old Man Willow.
Right.
I think he just calls every tree Old Man something. Like,
that's totally fair. I love that. That's fine. That characterization, not a problem. Just the fact that a tree is yet again trying to eat someone.
Yeah.
Which didn't, like, it happened in the extended version of The Two Towers with Merry and Pippin, which I thought was a clever way of including that without having Tom Bombadil.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I think so, because here's the thing. I think they were just, so that last episode had a lot of fan service.
It was very fan servicey. Yes.
It was a little distracting sometimes how much fan service there was, but at the same time, I can respect what they tried to do.
Yes.
Because in that same episode, we got the Barrow-wights and we got Tom Bombadil. So it was like them saying, we know that you didn't get this in the Fellowship of the Ring movie, so here you go.
Right.
Now you have some
big
Barrow-wights.
pivotal moments.
And now you have Tom Bombadil saying the lines which Treebeard took in the movies. The whole, you should not be waking. Eat earth, dig deep, drink water.
Go to sleep. Yes.
Yeah, like that's a Tom Bombadil line for Old Man Willow.
Yes. No, that, like, nerd chills, right? I was like, oh, we're hearing it again.
Yeah. And him singing his song.
Yes.
And
we heard Goldberry.
Goldberry!
I want to see her so bad, but I don't think she's a river daughter. Can she live in Rune? Like, is she like a genie in a bottle right now?
She was there.
She was there. We heard her. We didn't see her.
And then the stranger, Gandalf, is like, is someone else here? And he's like, huh? Who? Like, Tom is just like...
So obtuse. I love it.
I love him so much, dude. What a goofball.
Yeah.
And now he's going to try to help Gandalf with his wizard training.
Yes. I do appreciate the sage wisdom that he gave, despite being whimsy, which is very true to Tom. Like, that was how he was for the hobbits, too. I will admit to once again being perplexed on why he's where he is, but they did kind of answer that he's checking it out. Which, I'm going to be honest, doesn't really lend to his theory of leaving things alone. Or his statement of, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not sure how... Yeah, I don't know what'll become of this. I think that it's just going to be him kind of teaching Gandalf about how to get the staff and have more control.
Right.
But, like...
Tom can go where he wants. That's fine. But it seemed weird that he would pop up in Rune.
What was the explanation? I think it was because he had heard that the place was like a desert now, and he was like, I couldn't believe it. It was so lush and green last time I was here, so I had to come see it for myself.
Right,
like,
but like,
Aw.
in coming to see for himself, he's made a little home. And he's counseled another Istari at his well.
And he mentioned Withywindle. He was like, oh, back in Withywindle. It's like,
right. So strange.
I want to see Withywindle.
Yeah. There was something else about Tom. What was it? It might be gone. That's fine.
I mean, we've seen in the promo stuff that he basically has Gandalf's hat. So I think he's going to give Gandalf...
Right.
I think he's going to give him his hat. It's going to be like, you're a wizard, Gandalf, and give him his hat, you know?
Oh. It was the part... Sorry, I just remembered. It's because Gandalf's been... The stranger has been following the stars.
Yeah.
And he mentions this to Tom. And Tom was like, oh yes, I remember when the stars came into being. One night it was dark, and then I looked up and there were all these little eyes looking at me. And I was like, what a wonderful way to tell the audience that this dude is old as heck.
And he was like, I was there for the first acorn.
Right.
The first blade of grass.
Yeah.
He's like, who are you? Yes. Like, what are you?
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Tom.
I'm Tom. Tom Bombadil.
Old man Tom.
I do think we need to talk about the Harfoots and the
Stewards. Yeah. So the stewards are real. Golem was a steward.
Oh.
Yeah.
Were they in Rune?
I mean, I don't. Probably not.
Was anyone ever really in Rune?
Hobbits were like nomadic before they found the Shire and just kind of hung out. Right. So I do like this whole thing that they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Of like finding the Shire, a place of rolling green hills where you can live forever and not have to like move around. Like that's cute, and I like that. It's like their green pasture El Dorado. And
it did that moment where Nori is looking at the mural with, I can't remember the old lady's name.
Neither.
She's not that old, but whatever. And Nori's getting choked up when she's like, "Oh, he didn't ever find it."
We just kept wandering around.
I felt that in my throat as her eyes are like welling up. I felt very emotional about that because it was like, but you are going to find it, and that makes me so happy for you, but also very sad for you.
I think that so their whole thing is going to be finding the Shire. I think.
Yeah.
And Gandalf is going to help him do it. The stranger, who is Gandalf. I'm convinced.
I'm sure you're right because I did also catch when Nori called it a Gand, and I was like, what a weird word for them to just throw in.
Yeah.
Willy-nilly.
He also just kind of talks like Ian McKellen's Gandalf. You know, he's got the mannerisms down.
Oh, he does.
So I'm so glad the stranger talks this season, dude. Like, because now he can actually act more like he was acting before, but now I feel like we can fully appreciate his character now that he can speak.
Right. Yes, he found his language, which was very good.
And he's doing great. I love him.
He is. His mannerisms and like way of walking and
his vocabulary.
Yeah. What do we think of him accidentally summoning a tornado and sending the girls?
They got yeeted. I thought that he was going to find Tom Bombadil and they were going to be with him. Like Tom plucked him out of the tornado somehow.
That was also what I thought was going to happen, but no. No. Yeah,
maybe their bones are made of rubber.
I don't know. I know they got tough feet, but geez Louise. Did I say teeth? I meant to say feet.
Feet. I think you said feet.
Okay, good. I meant feet.
Yeah.
No idea what their teeth are like.
Yeah, I think that, him summoning the dust storm was an impressive feat, I suppose. Feat. But, I don't know. I never had it in my head that the wand was necessary or the staff was necessary. But I guess if you're going based on the movies, I guess in the Two Towers, when they try to take his staff and he's like, "Oh, you wouldn't pop me for my walking stick." And then he's like, "Oh, I told you to take the wizard's staff." So
I think that's in the book too.
Yeah. And in the movies, the Witch King breaks Gandalf's staff.
Right.
In Return of the King. And
Saruman also steals it in the Fellowship of the Ring.
Right.
And uses it against him.
And Gandalf breaks Saruman's staff. So, I guess...
Yeah. There's some precedence for that.
In the movies, there is. In the books, I always figured the staff was just kind of
A walking stick.
Yeah, unnecessary. He would still be able to do stuff without it.
Yeah, I guess I also assumed it was more utilitarian than... I always assumed that there was more power in the words. Mm-hmm. Like when he would say things. And that's probably because of the Doors of Durin when they have to speak the word friend. Mm-hmm. And there just is a lot of examples of magic existing in ways outside of channeling some magic through a staff. But also, like, when we see Gandalf using his staff in the movies, and even in the book, like, he's not wielding the staff as, like, it's not like a Harry Potter wand, right? He's not, like, using it to, like, channel incredible energy anywhere. Except for maybe the exception being with Theoden when he's using it to draw Saruman out.
And maybe with the Balrog, he like holds it up and it makes the bubble thing like.
Yeah, that's totally a movie thing though. I don't think that was.
Yeah.
Book. And like he creates light on the end of it, but it seemed more like it was just holding the crystal that he lit up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, and like when he goes into battle, I suppose there are times when he, like, riding into Helm's Deep, he holds the staff and it emits light. But I guess in the book, it seemed like that was more that it was daylight coming over the hill. Yeah. Not so much that Gandalf was wielding light.
Yeah.
But also, and like, when he becomes Gandalf the White, it's his entire person it's like emitting light. It's not the staff specifically. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I would consider the staff to be that important either.
Yeah, in the books anyway.
Right. Sorry, that was a long tangent about a staff.
The sword, on the other hand, Glamdring.
The sword is very cool. But that's okay, that's the other thing though. When he goes into battle, he's wielding a sword.
Yeah.
He's not just going around with the staff and bopping people. He's got that big sword.
It's a cool sword.
Like he's actually like kind of a warrior that way too. So I don't know.
So I'm curious to see where the whole staff hunt goes, and where this whole not Saruman goes. Like if like what his deal is. And just seeing more of Rune, because it's an area that we've never been to before.
I do hope it will become less Star Warsy, though.
I agree. And I'm, of course, looking forward to more Tom and hopefully some Goldberry.
I really hope so.
Oh! The song, at the end credit song, I was nerding out about this to you before we started recording. But the end credit song made me want to cry the first time.
Yeah.
It was just so good.
Yeah.
Bear McCreary has become maybe top 3 composers.
Pretty phenomenal.
Up there with John Williams and
Howard Shore.
And Howard Shore. He's so good.
Hans Zimmer, though. Gotta give Hans Zimmer some credits.
I know. But
okay.
Bear McCreary has done so many things that I love too.
It's true. He's
Outlander.
done a lot.
Outlander.
He was Outlander, you're right.
He did Outlander. He did the theme for Black Sails. He did the God of War music. He's been
very prolific and he's very good.
I love him so much. Anyway. Yeah, I'm really pumped for the Rings of Power and where it goes.
Me too. Okay, we have already gone quite long.
We have.
So, should we rapid fire our reading, watching, playing?
Let's rapid fire.
Do you want me to go first?
Sure.
Okay, watching. I watched A Good Girl's Guide to Murder mystery on Netflix.
Nice.
I'm watching Fruits Basket. My Hero Academia. Rings of Power, obviously. I watched American Murder, Laci Peterson. So if you like crime documentaries, that was on Netflix. Blake and I have been watching Futurama. Because of the Olympics, I went on a small Simone Biles documentary watching spree. And watched the Simone Biles Rising and Athlete A, which that's about the Larry Nassar stuff, the American gymnastics team. Yeah. I've watched seasons 3 and 4 of The Umbrella Academy, which... Have you watched that? Have you watched
Not the most recent one, no.
Well, dude. what a choice. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
And then Blake and I have also been watching some SpongeBob. Classic SpongeBob. Like episode 1.
Wow.
It's all on Amazon Prime. So
Are you watching it with Blake's kid?
yes.
Okay. Just, yeah, that makes more sense. No, just cuz.
Well, we watched an episode because I said something and he was like, it's like this, and I couldn't remember what he was talking about. So then we watched that episode and I was like, oh, I do know this episode. Anyway. But yeah, then we've been watching it with his kid. It's been fun. I also watched The Lion King the other day with his kid. For reading, Blake and I started reading The Alchemist. I think he has finished it. I have not.
Oh.
The Daughters of Ys, Y-S. It's a graphic novel. Kind of spoopy, sort of.
We like spoopy.
Or like, not like ghost spooky, but like some ritual creepiness. Okay. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Aquicorn, Cove, which is by the same person who wrote the Tea Dragon Society books. So it's adorable. Across a Field of Starlight is another graphic novel. We've been reading Tress of the Emerald Sea. Shout out to our read-along. And I recently read the Critical Role Mighty Nine Mollymock Tea Leaf graphic novel.
I have that and I need to read it. Thank you for reminding me.
It's very good. I feel like I learned a lot.
Nice.
For playing, we are almost done with the Princess Peach Showtime game on the Switch. I have been watching, I should say, a certain special little person in my life playing Let's Go Eevee, which is a Pokemon game on the Switch. Mm-hmm. Blake and I have been playing a lot of Magic the Gathering. I have been doing this for a long time and have not necessarily talked about it, but I generally enjoy the New York Times word games in the New York Times app. And from that, and from TikTok, not from the New York Times, from TikTok, I was getting served ads about Fruit Merge, which is a dumb mobile app game. This is dumb. I don't even know why I'm talking about this, but I became obsessed with it and I was merging fruit and whatever, and then I was getting all these ads. And so now I also have Townville, which is basically Farmville. I'm annoyed by it, but I can't stop doing it until I do, nice. And then I'll delete it. You know, it's one of those things where I'll eventually get burnt out and it'll be fine. But anyway, that's what I got. I think that's the fastest reading, watching, playing I've ever done.
Love it. Nice. Well done. Okay, for watching, Hope and I, this is in no particular order. I just wrote them down as I remember them.
That was the same for mine, for the record.
Hope and I have been watching Interview with the Vampire Season 2. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite shows right now. Just saying, it's awesome. Okay. We watched Alien 4 Resurrection, because I hadn't seen that one. And then we did go see Alien Romulus in the theater. And that was awesome. Nice. Still watching Hunter x Hunter with my buddy Alex from work. I started watching a new anime called 86, which has very interesting commentary about racism that I was not expecting. And it's about like not apocalyptic. Well, it's kind of dystopian future with like mech suits and stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
But a lot of like classism and racism commentary I wasn't expecting from that anime. Delicious Dungeon, which is just kind of cute and adorable. More One Piece. Rings of Power Season 2. Duh. And also, Hope and I, for a little bit there, were watching, because they're on Amazon, we were watching Hogan's Heroes.
What? That's like the SpongeBob thing. What a random choice. I love it.
Yeah, so random. I was just like, oh my gosh, Hogan's Heroes. I want to watch that. Yeah. For reading, Tress of the Emerald Sea. Love it. It's our read-along. Go check it out and join us on the read-along to talk about it because it's such a good book.
It's seriously so fun. So fun.
Still reading Frieren. And also, I'm almost done with Assassin's Apprentice, which is the first book in the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. Wow. Compelling and great fantasy novel. So, highly recommend. Playing Elden Ring, of course, and also Hope and I have been playing Toontown.
Well, that makes me feel better about playing Townville.
Yes. So yeah, that's my list of stuff that I've been up to.
Your wife did send me a video of you guys playing Toonville, and you were Toontown. Sorry, I'm playing Townville. You're playing Toontown.
Oh, the night where I was in character the whole time,
yes.
And she hated it.
I think she secretly loved it because she sent me a video of it.
No, she hated it. Maybe she liked it in the first 20 minutes, but then it quickly became old. No, it was fun. Toontown. Fun times. So anyway, I hope you guys are all having fun watching Rings of Power, and I hope you guys are all reading along with us with a read-along, because that's going to be next week's episode, the next Tress of the Emerald Sea. So go check that out. Is there anything else you want to add?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Well, I guess until next time, go watch the Rings of Power.
And we'll talk at you later.
We'll
talk at you next time.
And I say, later.
Bye.